Today I have the honor to introduce to you the Max Tactical Pumper from the Darley company. This 2023-2024 model year Max Tactical Pumper is built on the Ford F550 4-door 4x4 chassis and features a Darley PSMC model 1,500 gallon per minute fire pump and has the Darley AutoCAF's compressed air foam system installed to provide CAFs and foam to the 3 crosslays above the pump house. There are 2 crosslays that are plumbed with 1.5" plumbing for 1.5" or 1 3/4 hose, and there is a 2.5" discharge to the rear designed for a high volume compressed air foam or foam line. Here's a close-up view of the pump panel of this Max Tactical Pumper. It includes 4 water-only discharges, 2 on this driver's side and 2 over on the passenger side. The 2 on this driver's side are 2.5" with chrome downspouts. The 2 on the other side, one of them is a 2.5" with a chrome downspout. The other is a 3" large diameter discharge with a 3x4" Storts, or you can order it with a 5" Storts downspout elbow. This main pump panel here on the driver's side has a 6" main intake with a gated butterfly valve behind the pump panel, and we also have a 2.5" valved intake, often called the pony suction, on this driver's side pump panel as well. We also have the water level gauge, a foam level gauge, as well as the Foam Pro that supplies the Class A foam concentrate to the 3 crosslay discharges above the pump house. Here's a close-up view of those 3 pre-connected crosslay discharges. Hi, my name is Troy Carruthers, and I'm with the Darley company, and today I'm going to give you an overview of our new Darley Max Tactical Pumper built on the Ford F550 chassis. I'm going to start off first by showing you how the fire pump operates, going through step by step the instructions for how to operate this fire pump. As you probably already guessed, the place we're going to start operating the fire pump starts out here inside the chassis cab. The first thing we're going to need to do when we get into this emergency vehicle is turn on the master switch, the master battery cutoff switch. We're going to turn on the 12-volt battery power to the remainder of the fire truck. As you're getting inside the vehicle, the first thing I want to draw your attention to is the new style of emergency parking brake. We now pull this switch out to activate the parking brake, and we push it in to deactivate the parking brake. You can also see this XLT chassis cabs comes with electric adjustable brake and throttle pedals, so you can adjust them to your specific height. And then we do also have a headlight switch here, and this is where we would turn on our fog lights. By pushing the center of that button, by pushing the center of this button, we can turn on the fog lights and also adjust it from headlights off through parking lights, automatic headlights, and then forcing the headlights to be on all the time. So we'll go ahead and climb inside of this 2024 F550. We'll start by putting the key in the ignition and starting the chassis engine. We got a beautiful day here for the beginning of September. We got September 4th today. It's 86 degrees at 1:20 in the afternoon here in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. So one of the new things you'll notice here is the display. Not a big deal, but currently you can tell that my seat belt is not buckled, as my seat is showing up red inside this cab. So let's just say we're gonna put our foot down here on the service brake. We're gonna put the vehicle in drive, and we're going to simulate, as soon as we turned on the ignition with the key, it would have automatically ejected the 120 volt power line that's plugged into the auto eject for the battery charger down on the running board. So if you didn't manually unplug it when you got in, it would automatically eject the second you turn the ignition on. But then you would put the vehicle in drive and you'd drive on your way to the scene. So 5, 10, 15 miles later, you arrive on the fire scene. What's the first thing you're going to need to do? You're going to take your transmission shift lever and move yourself up into park. These 2023 and 2024 Ford F-Series trucks with the automatic transmission on the 6.7 liter diesel engine need to see park to start with. The next thing you're going to do, and I'll shoot down through here to the parking brake switch, you flip this little lever in and pull it into the on position by pulling it forward. And now you can see your parking brake is on, both here and in the little pop-up display. So now with the parking brake set and you're in park, now you will need to put your foot back on the service brake, and you will need to move the transmission selector from park through reverse and into neutral. Okay? Now take your foot back off the service brake while you now will be shifting your air compressor for your CAFs and your fire pump into the engaged position. Okay? We're going to release the little safety catch. You can see this thing will rotate 360 degrees. It can be anywhere. It's got O-rings, so it doesn't have to sit in the same spot. But you can release the safety catch and pull straight up, and you'll get your green light showing you the compressor's engaged. Same thing with the pump shift. Release the safety catch and pull it straight up. Now you've got your pump engaged. Now what you need to do is put your foot back on the service brake, depress it, and by using the shift lever, drop yourself one position into drive. And then watch. What you're calling for is 7th gear lockup. Once you hear the gears, once you hear the drive shaft spinning, you can now safely take your foot off the service brake and watch your OK to pump light. It will come on. Now don't bump the service brake or the throttle again, or it will knock you down into first gear on your display and you'll lose lockup. So carefully get out of the cab, where you can now go to your pump panel. Make sure you've got water in your tank. Supply water from your pump, from your tank to your fire pump, and from your pump back to the tank. So crack that open, and now you've got the fire pump engaged, and we're recirculating water. I almost hate to say it, but it's that easy. If you follow those shift instructions, when you get into the cab, turn your master switch on first, get in the vehicle, drive to the fire scene or drive to where you're training, put it into park, and then set your parking brake, put your foot back on the service brake while you drop it into neutral. Take your foot off the brake when you shift your CAFs and your pump into gear. Once they're both shifted, you put your foot back on the service brake, drop it one click into drive, wait a good solid 2 seconds. When you take your foot off the service brake, you'll be in pump gear. And again, just make sure you're supplying water to your pump and getting water out of your pump back to the tank as quickly as you can. We've already got 27 PSI of pump pressure on this governor, but I always, as a habit, like to pull my primer for a few seconds anyway, just to make sure that I get any air pockets or air bubbles out of the fire pump to help the governor work as smoothly as possible. Now you have 2 different modes you can operate in. You can either operate in the pressure mode or the RPM mode. The common operating mode is pressure. Now you have pressure protection, like with the relief valve, to protect your firefighters from overpressurization out on the end of the hose lines. So whatever you're calling for pressure, let's say we want to run at 60 psi, the RPM will adjust itself accordingly and spin the pump faster until we're making 60 psi. If I want to go to 80 psi, again, we just raise this number to the pressure that we want to operate at, and the RPM will automatically adjust the engine speed to produce that type of pump pressure. Now your CAF's air pressure is a slave to the fire pump pressure. So whatever you have for water pressure up here is what you're going to have for CAF's air pressure down here. If I want to run at 100 psi, now the RPM will go up till we get 100 psi, and you can see down here our compressor's at 100. So now that I'm operating at 100 psi, we could run this pump like this all day, but I'm going to run it up to about 110 psi. I'm going to turn on my foam pump by pushing the red button, and then I'm going to start some water flowing to the front crosslay where I've got 100 feet of firefighting hose connected and a Saberjet smoothbore nozzle, and we're going to start fighting fire with compressed air foam. I'm going to show you what the foam looks like. First we'll set it at about, say about 40 gallons per minute of water and foam solution, and about 60 CFM of compressed air. Hold on. So about 110 psi. I turn the foam on. I open my front crosslay valve to about the yellow setting, and then I turned on my red switch to inject compressed air. Alright, so I look back at my flow meter, and my flow meter was showing me that that was about a 48 gallon per minute stream. And again, you can see we're set here for medium foam because we're pulled out to the red line. If I want to adjust that back to a drier foam, I move this control rod to it's barely open at the red line, and now that will give me dry foam. So all I'm doing is I'm cutting back the volume of liquid, which will then net me a drier foam stream. It'll be more air as compared to the water and foam solution ratio. You can see the foam is quite fluffy. So you can see here the foam is just clinging to the branches. I probably used a total of about maybe 20 gallons of water, 20 to 25 gallons of water at 0.3% foam concentration to completely cover this area with calves. The nozzle was probably only open 10 to 15 seconds, and we were only flowing about 50 gallons a minute the first time, and we're probably at about 25 gallons a minute this last time. So like I said, probably about 20 to 25 gallons of water was used to create this type of compressed air foam. Nothing's gonna burn once it's coated with that type of dense, thick foam bubble product. And now we'll cover this tree here right next to the truck. And again, everything that you see that's white is 99.7% water with just a small amount of Class A foam mixed with it. And this stuff is perfectly safe for the environment. It's Class A foam, it's water-based soap, not unlike what you use for dishwashing detergent or laundry soap. Just so happens I might have got myself with it a little bit there too. The wind isn't always cooperative. Now when it's time to shut the system down, all you need to do is flush out that hose. We'll turn off the air. We'll turn off the foam. Now the red light is off. Now all we're going to get is just plain water. So now we come out here to our nozzle. We release the compressed air foam that's in the nozzle. So there's stored energy inside that nozzle. And then within a few seconds here, we'll start getting just clean, clear water, rinsing all the soapy water and removing all the air from the stream. Once we get clean, clear water like what I see now, we can shut off the nozzle, bring the truck back down to an idle, and we can shut the system down. Okay, so once we're down here at idle and we've flushed out our lines, we've turned off the foam system, now all we need to do is take the pump out of gear. Something I like to recommend doing anytime I put before I put a pump back into road mode in a Ford chassis, I always like to tap the brake. And if you listen, when you tap the brake, it reduces the RPM slightly, knocks you out of 7th gear lockup, and now you can go from drive up into neutral one click. And now once you're in neutral, now you can safely shift your fire pump and your CAFS compressor out of gear. Alright, so just to give you a clear picture of what that looks like here, you can see the neutral. If you're in neutral, it's always safe to shift your pump and your compressor in or out of gear. So again, we're just going to release the safety catch, push down and shift the fire pump out of gear, release the safety catch, shift the air compressor down out of gear, And if you're done at the fire scene, you could simply drop the vehicle into drive, release your parking brake by pushing in on that switch. I don't know how well you can see that, but push in on that switch, and then you can that'll release the parking brake. And if you put it in drive, you're safely allowed to move from this location at the fire scene, start heading back home. Or you could also simply put it into park and finish wrapping up your hose and things of that nature. So it's a very simple vehicle to operate. It's also a very simple vehicle to drive. The cost of ownership on one of these Ford F550 vehicles, for ease of maintenance, ease of service, ease of operator, comfort, it's hard to beat. You've got plenty of creature comforts inside here. The air conditioning works great. You've got a really nice backup camera. If I put the thing into reverse here, you can see you've got a really nice backup camera that shows you what's behind the vehicle, shows you the tailboard, gives you a good clear picture as to what's behind you. We always recommend having a buddy when you're backing up, but in the instance where you don't, or if you're on your way to a fire scene, you can safely see what's behind you before you make any serious mistakes. So but there's quite a few different features and settings and apps that are available on these F550s these days. This is more than just a simple work truck. There's a lot going on here. You can even connect your phones and different things of that nature. So if you've got any questions about this Max Tactical Pumper, please do not hesitate to reach out to us to ask. At the end of this video, we'll put some contact information on the screen, and if you'd like to request a demonstration of one of these vehicles at your firehouse, again, reach out to us. We've got a lot of information on Darley.com, so come check it out. The standard body configuration on this Max Tactical Pumper includes 3 compartments here on the driver's side, as well as the same mirror image 3 compartments over on the passenger side. Starting here with the compartments on the driver's side, these are all shown closed. We've got 2 roll-up doors and a hinged pan style door in front of the wheel behind the pump house. And here are those same 3 compartments with their roll-up doors opened. Again, you'll notice there's a nice, good-sized, smaller compartment in front of the wheel on this driver's side lower front corner, as well as a large, full-depth compartment, which we call Compartment 2, above the wheel. And then behind the wheel to the rear, there's a large compartment, all with roll-up doors, and how the compartments are configured is up to you. The standard is we leave them open with unistrut mounted on the front and back, or the sides, so that you can put adjustable shelves in these compartments, or pull-out trays, or roll-out toolboards. There's a variety of different options that exist. One thing you may notice here in the rear compartment, in the lower third of the compartment, we have a 2.5-inch line coming from the back of the vehicle through an electrically controlled valve and into the water tank. This is an autofill designed to, anytime you're hooked to a pressurized source and the switch at the pump panel is set to automatic, it will automatically keep your water tank between half full and about 90% full. It will open and close, taking that pressurized water and putting it into your water tank to prevent the water tank from ever running empty. You'll also see there's a 12-volt Vier air compressor mounted in this compartment to give us the compressed air necessary to operate the pump and the air compressor, the CAF's air shifts valves. As you can tell, now we're around the back side of the vehicle, where you can see the 2.5-inch autofill swivel connection with a 2.5-inch plug with NST threads here at the left rear just to the inside of the taillight cluster. Up on the back wall of the vehicle, you'll see the rear warning lights and the upper scene lights, as well as 2 slide-in compartments for long-handled tool storage, like 8-foot pike poles, or brooms, or fire swatters, that type of thing. On top of the vehicle, you'll see the 3 8-foot-long suction hoses, and on the right side, you'll see the 20-foot 3-section ladder and the 8-foot roof ladder. And here are those same 3 rear compartments with their doors open. The roll-up door, when it's opened, shows you've got a large rear compartment above the fuel tank area on the back of this chassis. There are 4 poly pucks with threaded helicoils inside for mounting a tool board or anything you would like on the back wall of this compartment. We do also offer a 150-foot booster reel plumbed with compressed air foam in this rear compartment, and that's what those 4 pucks are designed to install, as a booster reel mounted off the back wall. You can also see that you've got an arrow stick, rear traffic advisor just above your backup camera here on the back wall of the vehicle. Here's that rear slide-in compartment on the driver's side, and the rear slide-in compartment over here on the passenger side with a 8-foot folding attic ladder and room for more storage inside. And as I had mentioned, you got your arrow stick and backup camera. And then inside this compartment, you can see the sleeve for the plumbing and the 4 mounting pads for a booster reel or a tool board, or whatever you want for accessories in this rear compartment. As I had mentioned, we have a mirror image, 3 compartments over here on the right side, or the passenger side of the vehicle, and here they are shown closed, and here are those same 3 compartments with their doors opened. The roll-up doors expose a nice large interior. Again, we've got unistrut mounted to the back of the compartment wall. We happen to have an adjustable shelf in here as a demo with the unistrut on the front. Same with this large compartment over the wheel well, number 5. Got unistrut front and back. And one thing you'll notice is we have very deep compartments, over 20-inch deep compartments from the front to the back, because we don't need a gap between our water tank and our body, because our water tank and our body are all one piece. This entire water tank and body are a copolymer design where the tank and the body are all one piece, so that allows us to have very deep compartments, like I said, over 20-inch deep. And another unique thing is we have a nice poly rack built in here, a grid for storing SCBA bottles. So by building a pan style door, it gives us enough depth for 5 or 6 if you happen to have the smaller diameter bottles that'll fit in this lower left hand slide-in compartment. Otherwise, it has nice storage for 5 spare SCBA air bottles in this lower compartment. Here we are now over on the passenger side pump panel, where again you see a nice large 6-inch intake. This is that large diameter discharge I was talking about, with a 3x4 stores adapter and a 2.5-inch downspout. Also on this pump panel, you'll see you have a DEF fluid fill port that's been relocated quite nicely out here to the pump panel, and a Darley foam refill system, which prevents you from having to crawl up on top of the truck to fill the foam tank. Not that it's difficult, but it's a lot easier to hook up this this cam lock fitting and this stainless steel wand, put this into a pail, and hold the switch to the on position, and you can run foam from a foam pail up into your foam tank without having to crawl up onto the vehicle. All you have to do is just have your master switch turned on, And then this foam refill system works quite nicely to suck foam out of a pail and put it up into your foam tank. And the green foam full light will come on once the foam tank is nearly full to the top. These Max Tactical Pumpers have a pretty decent sized hose bed that you can get at here using the folding steps that are on the back of the vehicle. These folding steps are lighted, so whenever you have the step lights turned on inside the cab, these folding steps will light up both below the step and the surface of the step itself. But we can go ahead and show you the hose bed. There's some nice grab rails for getting up onto the hose bed. And the dimensions are in the drawings that we have out on our website. And you can see our water tank here is 320 gallons. And the Class A foam tank that's built integral with it is another 25 gallons. So the water tank is actually a little over 320 gallons of water. And you can see the ladder rack here up on top of the vehicle. And there's also a nice little dunnage storage area up here that you can stand in while you're loading and reloading your 3 crosslays. There's a nice hinged diamond plate cover over top of these 3 crosslays, and you can see your connections here for your pre-connected crosslays. Again, all of these are compressed air foam capable. These are your attack lines. These make that 300 gallons of water act like so much more than just 300 gallons. The 300 gallons of water, I would put that up against 1,000 gallons of plain water any day. Next, I want to give you a look inside this 4-door Ford F550 chassis cab. Right out of the gate here, you'll notice we've got SCBA air pack seats from Bostrom mounted in here in the rear. We have the Secure All style brackets for holding your SCBA. There's one on each side, as well as a center divider that's mounted over top of the battery charger. There's a Kuzmal battery charger in here with an aluminum wall with an additional SCBA storage bracket, so you can keep all 4 of your air packs inside your chassis cab. We'll go over to the other side now. Now with the sun on this side, you can see the rear chassis cab here again, set up with the SCBA seat with the Secure All bracket mounted in the back of the cab. And again, you've got your battery charger mounted underneath this bracket, this wall, with the SCBA bracket here mounted to the front. The diamond plate running board to get in and out of the cab. Again, you can see your auto charge status center as well as your auto eject plug in here. We send the adapter loose so you can hook it up to the end of your power cord for 120 volts provided from the station to keep your batteries charged up. There's 2 batteries under the hood of the Ford F550, one on each side of the underneath the hood area. Here you can see your 20-inch wheels, 10 inches wide, with the over 40-inch tall tires, Continental MPT 81. They are 335 80R20 on-road and off-road tires with a very aggressive lug design to help prevent you from getting stuck. But these things roll down the road quite nicely at 70 miles an hour with very little road noise. And they're designed to last many, many miles whether you're on-road or off-road. Up front we have a nice bumper with grill guard protection designed for the 2023-2024 model year Fords. We've got our warning lights built into the sides of the bumper, as well as tucked nicely, discreetly into the grille itself. See, on each side of the Ford emblem we've got a TIR LED red warning light in the front facing position and out in the outer edge positions, which are all NFPA compliant. We also have 7200 lumen driving lights to give you some extra front facing white light power. These are primarily designed for off-road use. If I get a chance, I'll turn those on for you here in a little bit, maybe when it's a little darker, and give you an idea of what kind of light those provide, especially as compared to the headlights. These 7200 lumen white driving lights, these LED lights, are quite bright. You will not want to have those pointed forward if you're coming towards oncoming traffic. And then this bumper does feature a nice 2-inch heavy-duty receiver built in, and you can put a portable winch up here and use it in this front receiver or the rear receiver. And we've got a 12-volt high amp power and ground connection here for plugging that winch in, again, both at this front receiver and at the back of the truck. I mentioned the lighting in the front bumper already. We do have a Whelen Freedom 4 light bar on top of this vehicle, and all Whelen LED warning lights adorning its surfaces all the way around. Again, the TIRs in the rear wheel wells, 600 series here at the back in the taillight cluster, and 600 series above for your rear facing, and then a TIR in the upper edge for your zone B and D compliance. You may also notice, tucked again quite discreetly up underneath the diamond plate on the sides of the body, the compartment tops, we've tucked some nice scene lights underneath there. These scene lights are quite bright. They have both fog light and driving lights to give you quite a bit of scene light while you're on the scene. And again, these LED scene lights are tucked up underneath of the diamond plate compartment tops on both sides of the vehicle, and they do make for quite a bright scene. And they're switched inside the cab and at the pump panel with the toggle switches mounted here. You've got a left scene, a rear scene, a right scene, and then your step lights in the center console. Alright, first to start, we need to turn on our master switch. Once our master switch is turned on, we can then find our driver's keys, put our keys in the ignition, and start the vehicle. I'm going to go ahead and close the door to knock out any background noise. And we could put our foot on the brake, a service brake here, to shift into drive. And now that we're in drive, we can drive our way to the fire scene. Safely, of course. Once we get on the fire scene, as I said before, it is now required to put the vehicle in park. You can now take your foot off that service brake. And once your foot is off that service brake, you can now go over here to your parking brake and activate, by pulling the switch, activate the new electrically operated parking brake. You will see that your parking brake now shows that it's on. Once that parking brake is set and you're in park, you now can put your foot back on the service brake, drop your transmission from park through reverse into neutral. Once you're in neutral, take your foot off the brake. You can now shift your CAF compressor and your fire pump into gear, or just your fire pump if you're not going to operate CAFs, and then foot back on the service brake, and then carefully shift your transmission selector into drive. You'll see that the display pops up now showing you that you're in 7th gear, 7 out of 10. Not sure if the sun is glaring, but now you can take your foot off the brake, off the service brake, and upon doing so, the OK to pump light will come on. It's kind of hard where the sun is shining in here, but trust me, the OK to pump light came on, and now I can go back to my pump house and operate my fire pump. Do not bump your brake or your throttle pedal, or you will knock the thing out of 7th gear lockup. But right now we're pumping. So I can go back to my pump house, make sure my tank to pump is open, make sure my tank refill here is cracked. You can see already just sitting here at idle, I'm at 30 PSI. I could now hit preset, and I could run right up to my operating pressure of 125. When I'm done fighting the fire, I can hit the idle button, I can go back to the cab, and my recommendation is to just tap the brake. When you do, it'll knock you out of lockup, run you back down into 1st gear, and now you can shift the transmission into neutral. Once you see that you're in neutral, you can now shift the fire pump back into road mode, shift your air compressor out of gear, and you could either drop it into drive and drive home once you release the parking brake, or you can put it into park. And once you're back into park, now you can release the parking brake by pushing in on that button. And now you can see that the parking brake is off. So it's that easy. Any questions, give us a call. I'm going to wrap up here just kind of showing you some close-ups of the pump and caf shift, the Whelen siren control, the Whelen traffic advisor controller, your master warning light switch, and each of your individual light bar, front warning, side warning, rear warning, your left scene light, right scene light, rear scene light, step lights, and then a dimmer function. If it's nighttime and you feel your lights are just a little more intense than you need to, you can just flip that switch on, and that'll turn your lights into a dimmer, a slightly less bright condition, which is now an NFPA requirement to cut the intensity of your lights down at nighttime so that it's not quite so bright on the fire scene. Then if you want to turn off all your warning lights, just simply turn off the master, and then each of your lights will sequence off. Got all your HVAC controls. Again, your Ford sync screen, the 8-inch touchscreen. You've got a really handy way to go from 2-wheel drive high, flip of the switch, and you can go at a 4-wheel drive high or 4-wheel drive low. Makes for a very easy shift process, and the dash will even tell you what mode you're in here: normal modes, slippery modes, off-road. So you can pick different driving modes depending upon what you're shooting for. Too high, or your 4-wheel drive high, slippery roads, like I said, off-road, and you can switch into 4-wheel drive high, and that's all done here through this drive mode button. You've also got a trailer brake controller here for more and less gain. It'll tell you that your trailer is not connected if you try using it in a situation where you don't have a trailer hooked up. There's just so many neat features to this. The way that we order these chassis is with the power extending mirrors, so you can either retract them or extend them so that you can see out behind, beyond the sides of the body. Lock, unlock, power lock, power windows. It's really got a lot of the same creature comforts that you would get in your own pickup truck. So very easy to drive, which I'll show you now. Here we'll switch back into two-wheel high mode, two-wheel drive high mode, and we'll drive back to the Darley shop. Alright, so we'll put the vehicle in reverse. Again, you can see you've got a really nice backup camera. We do have to release that parking brake that I mentioned earlier. Push that button in. That'll release the parking brake, tell you that the parking brake's off, and allow you to back the vehicle up. This 6.7 liter diesel engine has no shortage of power, let me tell you. Right now we're down under about a quarter tank, but even with a full tank of water, this thing pulls hard. Gets right up and going here. And as I said, for a vehicle with 40-inch tall super single tires and wheels, 45 miles an hour, it's nothing to be just driving along with 2 fingers on the wheel. The power steering works great. The chassis has no trouble turning these tires, and braking is secure and solid. Just a very pleasant vehicle to drive. It's big enough to be all that you need on the fire scene while still being small enough, nimble enough, quick enough to be to get into places that you otherwise couldn't with a full-size engine. Speedometer's been recalibrated to work very accurately with these bigger tires and wheels. And we're just cruising along here. Beautiful Lake Wissota here in Chippewa Falls. Very quiet inside the cab. I'm having no difficulty communicating. I don't have to holler for the camera to hear me. You'd have no problem communicating with someone here in the officer's seat or in the back SCBA seats.